We hear freedom and small government all the time in American politics. They're almost a reflex, like a flag people wave to signal what side they stand for. But what happens when the people waving that flag are the ones in charge? What happens when power enters their room? Well, it's a funny story, so let's have a look. Back in 2017, the Justice Department under Trump tried to add immigration enforcement strings to federal police grants, and cities like Chicago pushed back. And some federal courts, like in the 7th and 3rd Circuits, said no, that's not how the law works. But others, like in the 2nd Circuit, sided with the administration. And even judges couldn't agree on whether that kind of federal pressure was even legal. And then in 2018, the DOJ sued California over its sanctuary laws. These are state policies passed by elected leaders, but suddenly the Party of States' Rights was arguing for broad federal supremacy. Why would that be? Because the local policy didn't match the national one, and they liked the national one. And that gap, the one between slogan and strategy, gets even wider when we talk about freedom. Freedom as in personal liberty, choice, expression. In 2024, Congress passed a law forcing TikTok's parent company to sell or get banned in the US. And of course, national security was their justification. But civil liberties groups warned that it would chill the speech of millions of Americans. And in January 2025, the Supreme Court upheld the law. TikTok has stayed online for now, but a precedent was set. And meanwhile, in Florida, lawmakers passed a bill banning minors from attending adult live performances. Drag shows weren't named, but everyone understood what the target was. The law was blocked by a federal court, and in May 2025, the 11th Circuit kept that injunction in place. Freedom's not always protected when it makes some people mighty uncomfortable. And not to make you giggle, but what about the values often tied to Christian belief? Care for the vulnerable, welcoming the stranger, defending the sanctity of family. Well, in 2018, the U.S. government launched a zero-tolerance policy that separated thousands of migrant families at the border. And a federal court stepped in and ordered reunifications, and later reports documented just how devastating the whole thing was. In 2020, the cap on refugee admissions was set at 15,000, the lowest in U.S. history until now. And major faith groups, including Catholic bishops, they called it a betrayal of Christian teaching. Not that it seemed to matter to many of those Christians. And in 2024, Florida passed a law banning public sleeping or camping. It even empowered private citizens to sue cities that didn't enforce it. And some advocates, and anyone with a sliver of sense of compassion and humanity, those folks say it punishes people for being poor, instead of offering help. So, if we could find one, what is a pattern here? It's not just hypocrisy. It's a reshuffling of principle to match power. Freedom, limited government, moral compassion, each gets deployed strategically. Green lights for allies, red lights for opponents. And here's why this matters. Because rhetoric shapes policy, and policy shapes lives. Because real freedom means consistency, especially when your own side holds the gavel. And because if we don't hold our own accountable, we give permission for the next power grab. So I'll ask you, what's one freedom you'd defend? One power grab you would refuse, even when your side's in charge, and even if it costs you something.